Hi everyone, it's Nikki here. I thought I would share my glitter fuzzy Grinch ornaments. Well, actually, I meant to call them glitter Grinch hairy ornaments.
Your cheeks so...
I know. Harry.
So the supplies I'm using today to make my Grinch ornaments is I'm using this style of ornament. I am going to be using some black, yellow, and red vinyl. I am going to be using some polyacrylic mini wax and some green glitter. Oh yeah, and I'm also going to be using some green fur as well. So what I need to do first is pour some glue into the ornament. And these guys here, this green I find quite dark, but unfortunately I have a nice huge container of it, so I wanted to use it. But I would like to try making one with a little bit lighter. And I was at Michael's today, couldn't find any, and dollar stores, couldn't find any. So I have just a couple little jars. I guess that one's probably the same as that one. And this isn't going to be enough, I don't think. But I'm going to use them just to show you basically how I made this. I'm going to try and get, even if I have to put the light colored on the front and then the dark on the back, that'll be good for me. Also, this was quite chunky, so if you can find a finer glitter, you might like the effect better. So I'm going to remove the cap here. And I have a bunch of these, but you can just make one out of paper. Or if you have one of those syringes, that's even better. You can suck up some of this in the syringe and then put it directly into the ornament. But I don't have that, so I'm just going to pour a little bit of this in. And then you just want to swirl it around. So basically you just roll this around until you get your thing fully coated here. And when you get near the top, you can, if you have a cup, a disposable cup would be better, but I don't have any, so I'm just using this old pill container. And then you just keep twisting until you get it all over everything. And then you want to just leave it sit upside down for a bit. All right, so I mix those two little vials together, and hopefully this is going to be enough. I have another funnel because I have a lot of these because I do a lot of bead work. All right, now for the magic. We're going to swirl this around. And I'm going to try and get most of this on the front side, because then if I have to, I can use the darker on the back. Which it looks like I might need to use this other one here, because I don't have quite enough. Piece that I wanted to make mine a little bit more original than what I've seen most people make their Grinch ornaments out of. So I got some faces off of Etsy, some Grinch files, and I uploaded these 3 faces, and I'm going to take parts from each of them to make one face that, is appealing to me. This particular one, I liked that the grin was like a solid line, so it'll be easier to cut with vinyl. This one over here, I like the eyes the best. And I like this whole image, except I didn't think this would weed very well. And I also want this to be attached in places. So I was using this here. I liked this outer piece on this one and the eyes from this one. So in the end, I ended up with this face after I basically used the contour feature to remove the parts that I didn't want, and then I put everything together. When you click on the different faces and then you click on contour, you can go in here and take out the parts that you don't want. And then, you know, that's how I made this face, because I don't want this video to be too long. But this is the face that we will be cutting out. And what we need is black, yellow, and red. And of course, if you don't want to have the red eyes, you can just change the, you can just hide or not even include these eyes. And then they'll just be a black eye. So you can have that as well if you want to cut down on how many materials you're cutting. Okay, so I've decided it's probably easiest for me to hand piece the yellow and the red on. Okay, and then I'll take my transfer tape here. But anyhow, I am burnishing this on and see how it goes this time. All right, so I'm going to try to get this onto the transfer tape. But you see, it just never works very well for me. So, so I usually find I have to start it myself. My vinyl stays on. Okay, there we go. Now that's a little bit easier once I got it started. Okay, but often for like small little pieces, I have to help it along. I got this on the transfer tape, and where did it happen to, oh, I was going to say what happened to my red eyes, but there's the red eyes. Okay, so I'm going to take my ornament now and try to position it here. Try to center it a bit. And try that. And I'm going to press down from the middle, and then I'm going to try and do a couple cuts here to make it easier for me to stretch it. All right, so now I want to take this a little step further and cut some green hair into little strips like this. And then I'm going to hot glue them around the face. Now I do want to show you how you can achieve these nice pieces with the hair hanging down like this. And the key to doing that, with fur, it's the same thing like when you're cutting rabbit hair. In order to keep this part here nice and long, you need to cut it with a blade, and you need to cut it from the back, so that if you were to cut this with scissors right now, okay, the next piece that you cut will not have the long pieces hanging down. And also, you'll probably lose a bunch of hair from here. So the best thing to do is you take your X-Acto knife and you just try to go through the material only. Okay, and then you'll see that it starts to come apart, and then you can lightly go over the material until you cut through. Okay, and you can finish it off on this end. All right, and then when you pull this from this, you still have the nice long pieces for your next cut. So that is how I get all these nice little pieces with still having the long hair hanging down. So let's do a comparison now so you can see what I mean. With the darker green, if you have light on it, it's easy to see, but when you don't have a lot of light, I find it is quite dark. So let me pull this away a bit. See how you can't see the face very well? So the lighter green, I think, is a better choice, but of course that is up to you. Now I am going to take my little pieces of fur and glue them on. So I've just got my glue gun here, and I am going to just put a little bit of glue on the bottom of each one, and I'm going to start on the chin here and put some hair there. And I got another one. Just going to keep going here, gluing it all around the side here. Does anybody else notice when you're watching the Grinch movie and they're doing the part where he's shaving his face and he gets all those cuts on his face? He doesn't even have any hair on this part of his face. All his hair is on the side. And so I just thought that was a funny clip because he's always had a smooth face here. So, I mean, maybe in the cartoon version, I haven't watched the cartoon version in a long time. I'm referring to the Jim Carrey version. Alright, so this is 5 pieces. I bought this, I think I told you already that I got this green off of Etsy. And then what I'm going to do for the eyebrow section is I'm going to try and like curl this a bit when I glue it on. So I think I'll put the glue more on the edge. My glue gun is not, the cord is so short, so I can't, it's really hard for me to get this into view for you. So, okay, let's see, I'll just try and do it maybe like this. And then try and stick it down a bit. So I'm actually going to end up using 7 little strips in the end here. So that I can hide this part here a little bit more. Here we have our little ornament, little Grinch. There we go. Beautiful. Well, thanks everyone. I hope you can make some of your own little Grinch ornaments, Hairy Grinch ornaments, and have a great holiday season. Take care, everyone.